If you have ever been told that your dog is misbehaving because you are not the alpha of the house, you are not alone. It is one of the most repeated ideas in dog training culture, and it can sound convincing because it offers a simple explanation for messy behavior. Pulling on leash, dominance. Jumping on guests, dominance. Ignoring cues, dominance. Guarding the couch, dominance. But that simple story often creates more confusion than clarity. Dogs do not need a human alpha to behave well. They do not need intimidation, status contests, or daily reminders about who is in charge. What they need is something much more practical and much more effective. Clear communication, predictable routines, safe boundaries, and reinforcement that helps them understand what works. In this video, we are going to unpack where the alpha idea goes wrong, why so many normal or difficult behaviors get mislabeled as dominance, and what dogs are usually communicating instead. We will also talk about what calm guidance actually looks like at home, especially when a dog is pushy, overexcited, stubborn-seeming, or hard to manage. Because the real danger is not failing to be alpha. The real danger is misunderstanding behavior and responding in ways that add stress, fear, or conflict. And once that happens, small issues can become much harder to solve. So let's replace the myth with something more useful, a clear, grounded way to understand behavior and help dogs succeed. The idea that dogs are constantly trying to rise in rank around humans became popular because people wanted a neat framework for explaining behavior. If a dog resisted, challenged, guarded, barked, or ignored instructions, the conclusion was easy. The dog was trying to take over. The problem is that behavior is rarely that simple. When people say a dog is trying to be alpha, they usually mean the dog is doing one or more of these things: pushing through doors, pulling toward what it wants, demanding attention, jumping on people, guarding food or furniture, ignoring cues, resisting handling, barking when frustrated, or acting intense around resources. Those behaviors can absolutely be difficult, disruptive, and sometimes risky, but difficult does not automatically mean dominant. In many cases, the behavior is better explained by emotion, learning history, environment, or unmet needs. A dog may pull because walking itself is exciting and rewarding. A dog may guard because it feels insecure about losing something valuable. A dog may ignore a cue because that cue is weak outside the kitchen, or because the environment is far more rewarding than the person. A dog may jump because jumping has worked before. A dog may bark and rush because arousal rises faster than self-control. That is why labels matter. Dominance can sound like an explanation, but often it stops the real investigation too early. For this video, let's define the core issue clearly. The myth says dogs behave well only when humans establish alpha status. Reality says dogs behave better when the world makes sense to them, when expectations are consistent, when reinforcement is well-timed, and when stress, confusion, and accidental rewards are reduced. That shift changes everything. It moves the conversation away from power and toward guidance. And that is where progress usually begins. If you are enjoying our content, for more clear and friendly tips on life with dogs and cats, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next practical tips. Let's start with the biggest misunderstanding inside the alpha myth, the belief that behavior is mainly a status contest. In real everyday life, dogs are usually not asking, "Can I outrank this human?" They are responding to consequences, habits, emotional states, and context. Take leash pulling. People often see a dog dragging them down the street and assume the dog is trying to dominate the walk. But pulling usually works. It gets the dog closer to smells, movement, people, dogs, and forward motion. The environment rewards the behavior every few seconds. That is not a rank dispute. That is a dog repeating what has a payoff. Now look at jumping on guests. Again, many people call it dominance because the dog seems pushy and intrusive. But jumping often starts with social excitement. The dog wants access, contact, motion, faces, voices, and touch. If guests speak to the dog, touch the dog, laugh, lean down, or even push the dog away with animated energy, the interaction itself can reinforce jumping. The dog is not making a political statement. The dog is trying a behavior that has worked before. Resource guarding is another behavior that gets misunderstood. A dog stiffens over a toy, growls near food, or freezes on the couch, and people think he thinks he owns the place. But guarding is often rooted in insecurity, not confidence. The dog is trying to keep access to something it values because it anticipates loss. That does not make the behavior harmless. It can be serious. But if you treat fear-based guarding like a dominance battle, you can make the dog feel even less safe, which can intensify the problem. Even not listening is often read in the wrong way. A dog who responds beautifully at home but ignores cues outside may seem defiant. But cues are not magic words. Dogs do not automatically generalize learning across places, people, distances, smells, sounds, and energy levels. A dog may know sit in a quiet room and still struggle in a busy park because the context changed dramatically. That is not rebellion. That is a training gap. This is where the alpha story becomes especially risky. It encourages people to interpret behavior through intent they cannot actually confirm. Instead of asking, what is reinforcing this? Or what emotion is underneath this? They ask, how do I show the dog I outrank him? Once that becomes the question, people often choose force before understanding. And force can create the exact kind of dog people say they were trying to prevent. A dog that is pinned down, cornered, stared at, grabbed harshly, or repeatedly challenged over possessions may become more defensive, not more respectful. A dog that is punished for warning signals may stop warning clearly and move faster to a bite. A dog that is constantly put into conflict over everyday things may start anticipating conflict around people's hands, movement, or approach. In other words, the issue becomes not just the original behavior, but the relationship around the behavior. That is why calm guidance matters more than dominance theater. Calm guidance starts with observation. What exactly happens before the behavior? When does it appear? What makes it easier? What makes it worse? What does the dog gain from doing it? What emotional state seems to be present? Fear, frustration, excitement, tension, uncertainty, over-arousal. This kind of observation feels less dramatic than, my dog is trying to be alpha, but it is far more useful. Then comes structure. Dogs do well when patterns are predictable. Predictability lowers confusion and helps learning stick. That means routines around meals, walks, rest, greetings, play, and access to exciting things. It means cues that are taught clearly instead of repeated endlessly. It means boundaries that are consistent instead of changing from day to day depending on someone's mood. And yes, boundaries matter. Rejecting the alpha myth does not mean letting dogs do whatever they want. It means setting boundaries in a way that teaches rather than intimidates. A dog can learn to wait at doors, stay off certain furniture, settle before greetings, leave objects, walk with less tension, and pause before getting what it wants. But the path is not submit to me. The path is, this is what works here. That difference is huge. For example, imagine a dog who rushes the front door every time the bell rings. The alpha approach may focus on overpowering the dog physically or framing the moment as a challenge to human authority. The guidance approach asks better questions. Is the dog startled? Overexcited? Practiced at rehearsing this routine? Does the bell predict a huge burst of arousal every single time? Can we teach a predictable alternative, like going to a mat, creating distance, rewarding calm pauses, and managing the environment while the skill is still weak? That plan addresses the mechanism, not the mythology. The same is true for dogs who demand attention by pawing, barking, nudging, or climbing onto people. Many owners worry that giving in even once means the dog is running the house. But the more useful lens is simple. The behavior is being reinforced somehow. If attention-seeking works often enough, it grows stronger. The solution is not to act like an alpha wolf. The solution is to become clearer and more consistent. Decide which bids for attention will be answered, which will not, and what alternative behavior gets rewarded instead. Calm sitting, settling nearby, bringing a toy, or waiting quietly can all become more effective strategies for the dog. Another important point, confidence and clarity are not the same as dominance. Dogs benefit from humans who are steady, readable, and consistent. They struggle when humans are chaotic, vague, reactive, or emotionally explosive. So when people say, my dog needs a strong leader, there is often a kernel of truth buried under the wrong language. Many dogs do benefit from guidance. They benefit from someone who sets patterns, teaches skills, prevents rehearsal of bad habits, and responds without panic. But that is leadership in the everyday sense, not alpha status. A calm, credible human does not need to win symbolic battles. They do not need to eat first, walk through every doorway first, pin the dog, or interpret every inconvenience as a challenge. They focus on teaching. They control access to rewards thoughtfully. They shape behavior in small, repeatable moments. They notice stress early. They make the right behavior easier and the wrong behavior less rewarding. This also helps us understand why some dogs look bossy. A dog may seem pushy because impulse control is underdeveloped. A dog may seem manipulative because it has learned human patterns extremely well. A dog may seem defiant because the task is too hard in that context. A dog may seem protective when it is actually anxious. A dog may seem dominant on furniture when it is guarding a comfortable resting place or simply resisting sudden displacement. Labels can hide the real mechanism, and when the mechanism is hidden, progress stalls. So what should replace the alpha mindset? A more grounded checklist. What is the dog feeling? What has the dog learned works? What is the environment reinforcing? What skill is missing? What boundary has been unclear or inconsistent? What management step would prevent the dog from rehearsing the behavior again and again? That checklist is less flashy than dominance language, but it produces better decisions. And better decisions lead to safer behavior, stronger trust, and more reliable day-to-day results. So what does this look like in real life if you want a well-behaved dog without buying into the alpha myth? First, replace status thinking with behavior thinking. When a problem shows up, pause before labeling it. Instead of saying, "My dog is trying to take control," describe what you can actually observe. "My dog barks when visitors enter." "My dog freezes when I approach the bowl." "My dog ignores recall when excited." "My dog jumps when people come in." That simple shift keeps you closer to reality and makes your next step more useful. Second, build clarity into daily life. Dogs learn faster when expectations are consistent. Decide what matters most in your home and teach those patterns directly. Maybe that means waiting briefly before going outside, settling before meals are placed down, keeping 4 paws on the floor for greetings, or going to a bed during visitor arrival. These are practical household skills, and they reduce chaos without turning the home into a power contest. Third, reward what you want more often than many people think. Calm behavior is easy to ignore because it is quiet. But if you only react when the dog is annoying, you accidentally create a dog that gets the most feedback for being annoying. Notice the moments you want to keep. The pause, the check-in, the soft body, the quiet sit, the relaxed settle, the choice to disengage. Reinforcement is not bribery when used well. It is information. Fourth, manage the environment while skills are still developing. Management is not failure. It is a safe first step. Use distance, barriers, leashes, setups, routines, and controlled practice so the dog does not keep rehearsing the same unwanted behavior at full intensity. A dog cannot improve a greeting pattern if every guest arrival becomes a chaotic explosion. A dog cannot learn calm around food if people keep provoking conflict near the bowl. Training works better when the dog is still able to think. Fifth, pay attention to arousal. Many behaviors that people call dominance are actually the product of a dog going over threshold, meaning the dog is too activated to respond well. That activation might come from excitement, frustration, fear, or anticipation. Once arousal shoots up, listening often drops. So sometimes the most effective intervention is not stronger correction. It is reducing intensity sooner, creating a pause, increasing distance, shortening the session, or helping the dog settle before asking for more. Now let's cover common mistakes. One major mistake is punishing communication. Growling, freezing, lip lifting, turning away, leaving, and avoidance can be information. They tell you the dog is uncomfortable. That does not mean you allow risky behavior to continue unchecked. It means you treat those signs as data, not disrespect. If you suppress the signal without addressing the discomfort underneath it, the dog may feel forced into stronger behavior later. Another mistake is inconsistency. Many owners accidentally alternate between permissive and explosive. The dog gets away with a behavior 10 times, then on the 11th time, the human overreacts because they are frustrated. From the dog's point of view, the system is unclear. That confusion often keeps the behavior alive. Calm consistency is more powerful than occasional intensity. Another mistake is expecting obedience where teaching has not happened. Dogs are not born knowing what behave well means inside a human home. They learn through repetition, outcomes, and context. If a dog has never been clearly taught how to greet, settle, wait, release, walk, or disengage, those skills will not appear just because the human wants more respect. And one more mistake is turning every issue into a personality verdict. He is dominant. She is stubborn. He is trying to control me. Those labels can make people feel certain, but certainty is not the same as accuracy. A more useful question is always, what can I change right now that helps the dog make a better choice next time? That is the practical heart of good guidance. A well-behaved dog is not usually the product of someone acting like an alpha. A well-behaved dog is more often the result of repetition, thoughtful structure, emotional safety, and clear consequences that make sense to the dog. The home becomes easier not because the human won, but because the dog understands how to succeed. So yes, behavior can become dangerous when it is misunderstood, but not because the dog is secretly trying to rise in rank. It becomes dangerous when fear is ignored, when arousal is mishandled, when guarding is challenged carelessly, when warning signs are punished, and when people rely on myths instead of mechanisms. Dogs do not need a human alpha to behave well. They need guidance they can understand, boundaries they can predict, and humans who are calm enough to teach instead of escalate. What behavior have you seen people wrongly call dominance? And what changed once you looked at it more clearly? This video is for educational purposes only. If your pet shows signs of illness, pain, sudden behavior changes, or distress, consult a licensed veterinarian or a qualified behavior professional. If you are enjoying our content, for more clear and friendly tips on life with dogs and cats, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next practical tips.